Okay, now, why almost everybody misunderstands the Bible? First of all, um, when you're talking about the Bible, you're talking about a book that's been twisted, misinterpreted, mistranslated, misused. It's been abused, and it's still standing around, after the test of time. Everybody tries to discredit it. Everybody tries to speak against it. Mostly everybody tries to say it's a contradiction inside of it from another part of it, that it's a fake book, but nobody has anything better than the Bible. And nobody can go in there and show you a plethora of historical or a plethora or any prophecies that were written in there that didn't actually come to pass. So most people misunderstand the Bible because they don't understand the characters in the Bible. And once you understand who the main characters in the Bible are, being the children of Israel, you can understand the Bible a lot better. Because right now, the Bible is kind of like it's kind of like a book that you don't really know nothing about, and you look at it from, it's an old book that's outdated. Well, when you read the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, I promise you, when you read the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and you understand already the history of so-called black people in the Americas, little fly, so-called black people in the Americas, Latinos, Native Americans in the America, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, when you understand Jamaica, when you understand Haiti, when you understand America, Native American history, so-called black history, when you understand the kingdoms of East, West, South, and North Africa, when you understand the kingdoms of the North American Indians and the kingdoms on Quisqueya, all right, the island, the mother of us all, which is what the Quisqueya means. When you understand slavery and what happened to during slavery, who put whom in slavery, all right. When you understand all of these things and you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, I guarantee you're going to look at the Bible through a whole different light. I guarantee it. Because a lot of people put focus on religious doctrines from the Bible, but they don't put the focus on who are these people that are writing these things. Once you understand that Moses would have been considered a Haitian or a Limba tribe, once you understand the fact that that Issachar would have been considered to be like some of the ancient Aztec people or the ancient Purepecha people, whether you're talking about Puebla or whether you're talking about Mexico State or whether you're talking about Michoacan. When you understand the fact that Benjamin would be considered to be the father of the Jamaicans, when you understand the fact, especially this one, that the tribe of Judah in the Bible are the people that you currently know as so-called African Americans, so-called Black Americans. When you understand that, the tribe of Judah, who you read the Bible, when you read in the Bible, it says Jews, these people are the Black Americans. And what happens is a lot of churches, a lot of individuals, a lot of individualites, and a lot of camp leaders, they take the identity and they either say it's insignificant or they only put the focus on that. But the tribe of Judah is actually the people that came to American slavery. And people use that as a hook to reel you in. And then they give you stuff that's not really part of the historical context of the children of Israel. They bring modern day religion, modern day interpretations. They bring a distortion of solid biblical practices, and they subconsciously or consciously want to create a name for themselves. So they change everything. They say, oh, the new moon and the Sabbath and all of this and that. And they put emphasis on, oh, this is the only way to do the Father or the Son's name. And do they put emphasis on that? Which is good to emphasize biblical doctrine, but without being rooted in the covenant of who you are, that your ancestors made with the Almighty God, then you're not going to understand the Bible. And Black people, Latino people, we love the Bible. We absolutely love the Bible until somebody teaches us that the Bible is about white supremacy and we should be Muslim, or we should follow African culture, which Africans don't even follow. There's no Africans that are really following the African pathways of spirituality that we try to endorse in the Americas. All right. So anyway, we look at the book and then we believe and we love the Bible, but then people come along and say, no, don't use that book. Here, use, Egypt. Egypt had us in slavery. Egyptians killed their slaves and buried their slaves with them. There's nothing grand about Egypt besides the buildings that they made. Their culture was horrible. They were genocidal maniacs. They were monarchies and dynasties built on murder, murdering their own family, murdering their own people. You look at the Sphinx, those are burial chambers. Now, there is an alignment with the Sphinx and the pyramids in Egypt and other places with with Orion's belt. So it does have some cosmological and astronomical value, but a lot of these things were chambers of death, burying the leaders, and then their servants were killed with them. And in some cases, the leaders the servants were buried alive with them. Meant to tend to their bodies inside there until they just died or suffocated to death. And maybe sometime they had an air shaft. So they became prisoners to serve this dead person. All right. So there's nothing grand about the society of Egypt for you to be looking at it. You got all these people making videos of Egypt this, Egypt that, and I understand that. I understand it, but we have a history far greater than Egypt. When you look at that the Israelites, we had actual schools that are called schools in, we're talking about the 700, 600 BC. We had actual schools when other nations in the world didn't have that. When you look at when the Israelites went into Timbuktu, all right, we had actual schools and universities in Timbuktu, not in Egypt. Now, I know Pythagoras and all of them other guys, they went down into Egypt to learn and all of that. But where'd that get the world? I mean, you got the Pythagorean theorem, but you also have a lot of crazy stuff they was doing too. The Bible is sufficient. So I'm not dealing with just regular academic studies. When I talk about Pythagoras, I'm talking about the philosophical things that they brought that were actually in opposition to the Bible. But nonetheless, people don't understand the Bible because they don't understand who are the characters, who are the players in this book. And once you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, you will have a much better understanding about the Bible. But you have to read Deuteronomy chapter 28. I'm not even going to tell you nothing about it. You got to read it with your own eyes, all 64 verses. All right. And then you go down to when you get to like 65, 66, 67, 68, the wording there in English is going to give you a totally different outlook. But you have to, you have to read that chapter in the Bible for yourself. You have to read Deuteronomy chapter 28. You have to read it with your own eyes. You got to read it. You got to read it. And then you will have a better understanding of the Bible. So please don't get up here talking about the Bible or talking about when you think the Sabbath is and when you think the new moon is and all this and that. Don't get up there on social media preaching and talking about the Bible or against the Bible until you understand that one chapter in the Bible. Because everything else you understand in the Bible, could be true or false. But when you see Deuteronomy chapter 28 and you read that for yourself, that's going to clear up a lot of misunderstandings. Okay? That's going to clear up a lot of misunderstandings. You have to read it for yourself. All right? Deuteronomy chapter 28. You got to read it. You got to read it. That's the only way you're going to really have a clear perspective and understanding about the Bible. All right? Shalom.